I watched all of Conversation with a Killer, the Son of Sam tapes. If you're a big fan of true crime series on Netflix and curious about checking it out, you are in the right spot. My name's Justin. All I do is watch movies and shows during my free time. It gets a bit out of hand. I thoroughly do enjoy the Conversation with a Killer series on Netflix. The newest one focuses on David Berkowitz. This is the second Netflix series focused on David Berkowitz, a 44 caliber killer in New York. The previous one was called The Sons of Sam, a Descendant into Darkness. It was a 4-part documentary series that examined certain theories of David Berkowitz and his involvement with a satanic cult. This new series has unheard audio recordings of David Berkowitz, conducted by reporter Jack Jones in 1980. This is a 3-part documentary series and it's very chilling. What made this series so hard to watch is that they have survivors of David Berkowitz when he was on this killing spree in the 70s in New York City. It has interviews with detectives, journalists, survivors to give a different perspective on what happened in the 70s. So when you have the recordings of David Berkowitz, these unheard audio recordings with these interviews, is that when you listen to David, he has no remorse on what he did. And it was to the point where he explained everything that happened because he didn't want people to think that maybe somebody else was the one behind everything. He admitted to it all because he wanted everybody to think he was the one that did it. Nobody else could have done this except him. And that's very chilling to listen to. He seems very calm about things and just very relaxed in prison. And it gives it a very haunting vibe to it. And then on top of that, they do have some reenactments of some shootings and when he was younger, and the way that they craft those scenes, you have like this hazy look to it all. It almost feels like a horror movie. They dedicate a lot to match what had happened in this violent nature of David Berkowitz, also crafting this documentary series, from the reenactments to the transitions to setting the interviews. It all has, like I said, like this very chilling atmosphere to it. And I've mentioned it before in other documentary series reviews on Netflix. I love their 3-part documentary structure. You have a very clear beginning, middle, and end to it all. In the beginning, you focus on David Berkowitz when he was young, and he had so much hatred as a child, and he didn't know how to express that. He didn't know how to communicate what he was feeling, and eventually led to him shooting people and setting things on fire as a young kid. The series tries its hardest in the beginning to have us not sympathize with David and what he's going through. It's not a series that's trying to make us feel so emotional for David, but the series does have that explanation of what happened to David when he was younger. And so that first episode has this solid setup of when he was younger, what happened to him, and eventually leading to some killings. And then the second episode, in the height of this chaos that was going on in New York City, how everybody was afraid and no one was walking out alone at night. Detectives trying to figure out who this 44 caliber killer was. Even after David Berkowitz announced that he was the 44 caliber killer, he still managed to play games with the police. During all these killings, he said that the dog that lived next to him was talking to him and told him to kill all these people. And then he admitted that that was all fake and it was a story that he had made up. And then he said that he didn't work alone and he was part of this cult. And that's where the previous Netflix series dives into that theory that he wasn't working alone. He admitted to everything. He didn't want anybody else taking credit for what he did. And when people came forth and said that you shot me when I was younger, and he said, I didn't do that, people started to believe him because of how truthful he was when it came to these cases. And so it had a very interesting third episode with somebody that came forth and said that you shot me in the 70s and I didn't do that. And it's really hard, like, do you believe him because he was so truthful, or is he lying? It was a very interesting last like 20 minutes of that third episode. But Conversations with a Killer, the Sons of Sam tape, This was a very chilling watch, from the reenactments that had like this hazy Halloween horror vibe to it, to the unheard recordings that were very chilling to listen to. No remorse, not a care in the world of what happened. And then as he spent more time in prison, he was aware what he did and wanted to change his life. That's what's interesting about these true crime series on Netflix and all of the streaming services, how they view their life now. We get to listen to that. It added a whole new perspective on what David Berkowitz did in the 70s. But with 3 episodes, they did a lot. The structure was there, the pacing was good, you introduced things at the right moment, it had this chilling vibe to it all. If you have watched Conversations with a Killer previously on Netflix, I do recommend checking out the one focused on David Berkowitz. I'm gonna go ahead and give Conversations with a Killer, the Son of Sam Tapes, a B-. Thank you guys for watching my review for the new Conversations with a Killer series on Netflix. Have you guys seen it by chance? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.